we'll get going. I want to thank everyone for being able to attend the MOU update committee. Let's see. I'm going to read the notice of non-discrimination. You are invited to participate in our transportation planning process, regardless of your race, color, national origin, including limited English proficiency, religion, creed, gender, and ethnicity. Boy, I'm butchering that today. Disability, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, veteran status, or background. Accessibility statement. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Zoom products are compliant with exceptions with the following standards: web content accessibility guidelines 2.1, level AA standards, and revised section 508 standards. If you require any additional accommodations in order to participate fully in this meeting, or if you have any technical difficulties, please contact Emery McGuire, MPO staff at emcguire@ctps.org or at 857-702-3681 or via the chat box. Guidelines. All participants will join the meeting with muted microphones. Please rename yourself to include your first name, last name, and affiliation. After roll call, board members may mute and unmute themselves. Always remain muted unless actively speaking. To participate in the discussion, please select the raise hand function. Find this by clicking either the participants button at the bottom of the screen, and a window will pop up with a raise hand button at the bottom, or the reactions button in the toolbar. The chair will then call on participants. If you are on the phone, you can use *9 to raise your hand. And introductions. Do we want it, Dave? Do you want to do the introductions?
Feel free to do Laura to do the roll call.
Intercore Committee.
Tom Bent.
MBTA Advisory Board.
Hannah Switlikowski.
Metro West Regional Collaborative. MassDOT Seat 1.
Yep, Derek Cravat here from MassDOT Planning.
MassDOT Seat 2.
John Romano.
MAPC.
Hello.
MAPC at the moment.
Regional Transportation Advisory Council.
Leonard Diggs is here.
City of Boston.
That was Jenra.
I see General, but I don't hear.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Jen Rowe here.
Okay. And Town of Brookline. That is everyone. And I'll turn back to MAPC. And Metro West Regional Collaborative. And returning to Town of Brookline.
Calls the roll. Thank you, Lauren. And back to you, Tom.
All right, thank you. Let's see, the next agenda item would be number 2, public comments. If anyone has any public comments, we can bring them up right now, or if you raise your hand during the meeting, we will recognize you once we have it, when we can. Are there any public comments right now? Okay, seeing none, we'll go to item number 3, which is the action item, approval of the March 6th meeting minutes. We need a vote to approve these minutes. I'll need a motion. Jen Rowe,
I will motion to approve the meeting minutes as written.
and I will need a second. Thank you, Jen.
I'll second it. I just can't find my raised hand button. The interface has changed. Yeah, so, all right.
All right, thanks, Lynn.
But Eric was going for it too, so.
I was having the same problem.
Thanks. Len seconded. Call the roll, please. Lauren.
Ron Bent,
Yes.
Derek Cravat,
Yes.
Hold on,
John Romano?
hold on 1 second. Yes, John Romano, yes.
Len Dickens,
Looks like he
might be
froze.
frozen. I can circle back.
Oh, Dickens,
Jen
yes,
Rowe?
I'm sorry.
Jen Rowe, yes.
And Hannah Spitlikowski,
Abstain.
and that motion carries, I believe.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lauren. We're going to go to item number 4, looking ahead, the MOU update, work planning. And that's David.
Great, thank you for passing the mic. Next slide, we're on July the 10th, a few weeks away from our target date to prepare an update to the board. The work that this committee has shepherded throughout. Since January of this year, we have pushed on all of the work modules, bringing many of their statuses to draft completion. And in the case of the advisory council role module, we will review the language that was reviewed previously by the advisory council today. And the agency collaboration description update module we will go review as a committee 1 week from today. We will, for the July 17th meeting, we will post a draft version of the operations plan tomorrow, most likely, for your eyes and to review in advance of next Wednesday's committee meeting. The operations plan contains revisions pertaining to agency collaboration within Section 8, which is on information sharing. It also will contain revisions regarding the RTAs and their status in Section 3, and a few minor other revisions as well. The draft MOU that was posted last week for today's meeting contains revisions that you have suggested either during our prior meetings or by comment markup on all of the previous work modules to date. Our aim is to bring an overview then, actually, after we review together today as a committee, our aim is then to bring an overview of our work, the committee's work to the board on August the 1st, with offline materials posted to review early. Ask the board then to review and to vote on a recommendation to release the MOU for public comment on August the 15th, if they are in agreement. If we go to the, skip 2 slides from here, please. I will go through this swiftly. So for today and then the next one, as I've outlined, the 17th, the target would be to discuss and vote to bring the MOU progress updates to the MPO board for August 1st. July the 18th, when we go to the next MPO board, Tom could aim to notify the board of these activities to come. On the 1st, I will with the committee's approval, present updates on the work modules with context provided on how this work began, etc. On the 15th, the target would be to then have the board vote to release the MOU for a 21 public comment period that would culminate in us being able to endorse, or the board being able to endorse that document on September the 19th, which would give us some time then to collect signatures. That's kind of the end to end from July 10th, which is now until the fall and leading up to the annual meeting. I will pause there to see if any of our members have comments, and I guess I will pass it back to Tom.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Eric.
Yeah, thank you. And I apologize if I know I came in a little late, so if I missed something. When, like, are we gonna see all the MOU updates like today? Is there a document, or are there gonna be forthcoming updates? And if so, are there additional committee meetings to discuss those? Just like, are they also gonna be in here as well?
Thank you, Eric. Yes, the MOU document as a clean version with all of the revisions up to date is posted on the calendar. We posted that, I think, last week, and between today and the 17th, would be an opportunity for you to review comments, to provide that either through email format or as markup. And what was I going to add? We are going to go through the document today, and then whatever carries over, we'll pick up the next meeting on a week from now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Go ahead, David.
If we go to the next slide. The next item will be the advisory council update, and I'll pass it over to my colleague, Stella.
Thanks, David. And hello, everyone. I'm Stella Jordan. I'm the Public Engagement Program Manager at the MPO and also the staff facilitator for the Advisory Council. We go on to the next slide. I wanted to just quickly give an overview of the previous discussions that have happened on this topic, both in this forum and with the Advisory Council itself, to inform the updated language that has been incorporated into the full document posted today. So the Advisory Council has held 3 conversations about Advisory Council language in the MOU. Starting in March, we discussed sort of general priorities for inclusion in the MOU description. In April, we reviewed an initial draft of updated MOU language, and the Advisory Council provided some feedback about areas of emphasis. And then in May, we had another discussion about draft language. Several key themes emerged from that conversation, which resulted in some new updates. So those included emphasizing the importance of the Advisory Council's membership on the MPO board and committees, emphasizing the importance of education in the Advisory Council, really providing a space for people to be educated about the MPO's work and members advancing their own education in order to effectively engage with that work. And then also emphasizing the importance of the advisory role that the Advisory Council plays in really guiding MPO work. And if we go on to the next slide, just to sort of list these things out for you to see. So given all of that feedback, we then went back and made some additional revisions to the draft Advisory Council language for the MOU since this group previously saw it. These revisions, I wouldn't say they represent any like radical changes to the version of the language that we've seen previously. Basically, they seek to better emphasize those areas of priority and emphasis that I listed on the previous slide. Again, mainly, underscoring the importance of the advisory role, adding a bit more definition to that role in engaging with specific issues relevant to the MPO's work, as well as helping to enhance accountability around how MPO work addresses the MPO's vision and goals. And then just adding a small clarification to the language regarding the Advisory Council's voting seat on the board and committees. That updated language, again, it's available in the draft MOU document that was posted to today's meeting calendar. And if we go on to the next slide, with that, I just sort of wanted to share that update and then hear from this group if you have any additional questions or thoughts about the Advisory Council language, any of those updates I talked about, and if you feel there are any further changes or modifications that you'd like to see before this is completely finalized.
All right, thank you, Stella. Are there any questions or any changes or whatever anybody may want to talk about? Len.
Just remember, this is virtual, so you can say whatever you want.
Len, did you have anything else, or was that it?
No, that was it. No,
Okay,
really. And I just appreciate Stella and the staff's understanding of the issues that was raised at this meeting, and incorporating them into the revisions. I think they did a really good job encapsulating some of the concerns of my colleagues on the advisory council. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Len. Eric.
Yeah, does anything in the MOU, does it change any of the description of like the groups that participate in the advisory council? I feel like, when the advisory council was originally created, it was sort of a space for municipalities. But then municipalities were basically more so added, to the MPO. And so then it became a space for basically any organization or person that wanted to be more engaged, which I think is great. And I'm curious if that has been further defined or if anything has changed there.
Yeah, that's a good question, Eric. And it's something that we thought about a little bit with this revision. And I think where we landed was that we wanted to focus more on the function and role that the Advisory Council plays in relation to the MPO and its work, and less so on like the details of the composition of the Advisory Council and how it sort of functions day to day, in recognition that those details can be further sort of worked out through other governance documents, like the Advisory Council's bylaws, for example, would be the place for that. But I think to your point about the Advisory Council, sort of the intent being a space for kind of anyone who wants to come participate and learn about the MPO, I would say that is still our goal. And I think we want, in conversations with the Advisory Council about membership in the context of this language update, we did talk a lot about sort of the want and need for like a very diverse group of folks in the room representing a lot of different perspectives from different types of stakeholders around the region. So I think that is the goal. But I think that detail wasn't something that we felt we needed to get into in this particular language.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I think we can move on to item number 6.
I have a comment.
Okay, oh, didn't see it. All right, thanks,
All
Joe.
right, thank you. Yeah, just I guess a question, and maybe this is further defined in the operations plan, but there are like numbers of like what the goals of the advisory council, and I like I think that was great. Kind of helps pull out the key themes. Under, I guess, accountability, it discusses bringing transparency and greater accountability to encourage the MPO's decision making to be consistent with the vision and goals established in the LRTP. And that struck me as a little interesting, and I was curious why consistent with the LRTP, and that I guess the advisory council also is informing the LRTP itself. And so I guess is it really like the advisory council keeping just kind of maybe like a additional definition in like who and what is the advisory council holding accountability to, and maybe it's beyond the LRTP. So I didn't know if there was, again, a fine point. I think we all kind of know what it means, but maybe just an additional look at that that language. Or I'm curious if there was further discussion on that.
Yeah, that's a good question, Jen. Thanks for raising that. I think the intent there was to sort of hone in on what role the advisory council plays in providing advice to staff on ongoing work, and also being a voice on the MPO board and on committees. And I think sort of adding like kind of an overarching framework to that role, specifically around the LRTP, because that's sort of the overarching framework of the MPO's work, I think. So yes, the advisory council obviously participates in developing the LRTP and its vision and goals, but I think that in conversations that we've been having at the advisory council about, you know, focusing on the needs assessment, for example, and on various aspects of long range planning as it relates to the other pieces of work, I think it was like something tangible that we can kind of pull out as an ongoing thread for folks as they come in and out of engaging with our process, to kind of provide that grounding, I would say, for engaging with our work. And I think one of the benefits of having a seat on the board and committees for basically a group of, you know, interested stakeholders is that they have the opportunity to, I think, represent a wide variety of viewpoints. And so adding some framing around like how we want to direct those viewpoints into the conversations. But Len, if you have additional thoughts on that, also certainly feel free to jump in. I think that's where I was coming from with that language. So
Thanks, Stella. Len.
Sure, that was good. That's great, Stella. I mean, and my connection keeps dropping. I mean, so if I drop out, it's technical. Yeah, no, that's fine. And accountability is really to the board itself. I mean, we are part of the board. I mean, and to that extent, I think we all play that role of making, you know, ourselves accountable to each other. But as Stella pointed out, we do have multiple organizations that are represented on the council. And so to the extent that those organizations are trying to keep the board, you know, accountable, then that's where the accountability lies. I mean, there's so many accountabilities in there, it's almost tautological, but I hope that was clear. If not, let me know and I'll try and phrase that differently.
All right. Thanks, Len.
Sure.
Jen.
Yeah, I think that all makes sense, and I can see how kind of making sure that what we set out, we say we're going to do.
Yep.
The LRTP as the main document, or we describe that, and then kind of ensuring consistency. I think the one thing maybe I might consider adding is like the accountability of and maybe this isn't a role that it makes sense for the advisory council to play, and maybe but I think there's like a certain degree of, at least in kind of the way MPOs were formed, was partially because the folks deciding where federal funding was going weren't being held accountable to communities. And so I think is there an accountability to holding the MPO to something above itself, and that might be the federal legislation or like the intent of the 3C process or something like that. So and not to say that I'm not gonna like think that's the most important thing to include, but just that's kind of where maybe my thought process was going.
Thanks, Jen. Len.
To that end, we don't really report to anybody, so it's not like the advisory council goes running to the feds and say, well, we wish the board were doing something different. And I guess the issue with accountability is that it does kind of imply that there is some kind of enforcement or something behind it, and that really isn't what's going on here. It's more of intellectual, accountability, where we have these goals that we kind of check in with each other, because it is a little difficult, and we kind of run into this challenge when we are writing comment letters, because we're on the board, and as I said, we're kind of like grading ourselves when we make comments on our various documents. So it really is coming at it from more of a friendly intellectual space, more so than enforcement and confrontational point of view. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Len. Stella, do you have enough? Are we looking to make a change here? I'm not exactly sure, where we want to go with this. Jen, do you want to clarify that a little bit? Or Stella, do you have enough information now?
I guess I'll say I'm comfortable with staff either deciding to include something if it makes sense or not. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I can take another look and see if we can like draw some of that context out a little bit more to that section.
All right, and you have enough that you think that you'll be able to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jen, and thank you, Len. Anyone else? Okay, not seeing anyone. I guess we'll move on to item number 6, the MOU document update and progress update, and that would be Erin McGuire.
Thank you. If we can move on to the next slide. So for today, we have provided you all on the calendar with a draft version of the MOU. This has all of the changes that we have been discussing over the last year or so already incorporated, so it's a clean version. We do have a marked up version available if you would like to see it. That's changes from the 2023 version. Should there be specific questions about where a revision came from, or if you're wanting to know a bit more. Next week, we're going to bring the operations plan for you for the beginning of review. That has information on agency coordination and information sharing, along with information about board member education opportunities. So you can expect to see those modules there. Today, I'm going to walk us through the document in order. I'm going to share my screen. I've color-coded a few sections just to make it a bit easier to follow along with. Please feel free to raise any questions or concerns as they come up, or we can also discuss them at the end of this section. Next week, we're going to be reviewing anything that we don't cover today or any follow-ups that are going to be covered before we ask you to do any votes on that, just for your awareness. Lauren, if you wouldn't mind, could I share my screen? Thank you. All right, so what you guys are all seeing is a color-coded version of the MOU. The general scheme is that anything yellow is an editorial change or a small revision from something that has already been in the MOU itself. Green reflects the advisory council, and it's going to be updated to reflect the conversations that we just had. The blue represents the fiduciary agent agreement, which in part is reflected in the CTPS staff section. And then RTA topics are reflected in pink, and small bits of agency collaboration are going to be shown in orange. So our first small change is on page 1. It is adding MWRTA and CADA as signatories to the MOU. And then our first major change is going to be on page 3. This is a revision, simply copying and pasting from a lower section within the introductory section of the MOU, as suggested by committee members to help with document narrative and make it a bit easier to read. So this puts the 3C process and definition ahead of the signatories. And then scrolling forward on page 5, we have an added whereas statement for MWRTA and CADA, referencing the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 161B. Definitely open to any input from our RTAs on how to best convey this language, should you have any. Moving on to the next page, page 6, there's also a few more updates related to the RTAs. There is an addition of a board seat for one regional transit authority operating within the Boston region. And then we have a separate paragraph explaining how this rotational function is going to work. So they're going to be serving a 2-year term on an alternating basis. Relevant RTAs are MWRTA and CADA, and they'll serve as one another's alternate while the other is the main representative. I'll just pause here for a second if anyone has input.
Anyone have any questions up to this point or suggestions? Okay, seeing none. Continue, Erin.
So next, this is going to be pretty brief. This is the text for the advisory council. Stella's going to go back as a la Jen's comments, and if there are any changes that are applicable here, they will be reflected in the next version that is shared with you all. And then going on to pages 9 and 10, this is another example of some copy and paste and textual relocation from other sections within this document. So none of this is new text. And then that is the same for this second paragraph in the planning and programming section. Again, just relocated from a different section of the document. Next is the Central Transportation Planning Staff blurb. We reviewed this on April 3rd with the committee. This is related to the fiduciary agent agreement and provides a bit more clarity about who CTPS and the staff to the Boston region MPO are. And then on page 12, this is our final major revision. It is the deletion of some information about TIP project information sharing and the development process, which is going to be relocated into the operations plan, where we can go into the process in a bit more detail and also update it in a much easier way. And then in the section about the operations plan, this has been rewritten because we now have an operations plan to refer to, and it just outlines the content of that document. And that is the high-level summary here. So I'm happy to go into any specifics and we can discuss further.
Okay, thank you, Erin. Anybody have any questions, comments? Josh?
Hi, thanks. And Josh Ostroff with the MBTA. I don't think I've seen a red line of this. It's possible Sandy has. So that would be great. He and I have to like tag team. I think I've got a conflict next week when we would discuss the ops plan. So he would probably handle that, but that would be helpful to get for ops plan and the MOU both. And others may want it to want to just make it available through this meeting invite or some other means. Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, anybody else? I am not seeing anybody else, Erin. Good job.
I do see Jen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
He's coming up late.
Causing problems again, yeah.
You're coming up late, Jen.
No, I just wanted to confirm that like I think what you said earlier was that we'd have an opportunity to take a look at this. It sounds like look at the red line version, email you all if we see anything else we have questions about or suggestions or whatnot, but that would be the kind of process between now and the next of these meetings.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think we can get a redlined version emailed out to you all for your review, just as a Word document instead of a PDF or HTML.
Yeah, that would,
Great.
Aaron, that would be helpful. So, yeah, if you can get that out, the sooner the better, because the next meeting is, I believe, the 17th, correct?
Yep, 1 week.
Yeah, give everybody time. And then, what would be helpful is if you see anything, questions or things that you could get out to staff ahead of time, so that, they'll have a chance to kind of go through it all. That would be great. I assume you would want that, so. All right, Dave.
Absolutely agree. And then just wanted to caveat and note that for the operations plan, the MOU has been kind of gone through our editorial team. The operations plan will take a little bit of time for the editorial to review. So it will be a draft for discussion and for you to provide comments, but it will go through additional QA and revision before going in front of the board. So just wanted to note that, just in case you're catching errors. Will be minor, but if you do, that's where it will be at. Thank you. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you. And Jen was asking for a deadline on that. When would, if we send any comments in, when would you like to see those by?
End of day Monday or Tuesday would be helpful.
Okay, great. Metro West. I think you're muted. No, we still can't hear you.
Sorry, Tom, are you looking for me?
No, was Metro West has their hand up. All right, let's see if we can get that. Okay, it looks like they're gonna send edits to Dave. It looks like they're having a problem with their speaker. Thank you. Let's see, just check the chat. Okay. I don't see anybody else's hands up. So we can move on to the next item. I don't actually, John, were you trying to talk? Nope, I don't think so. Oh, okay, so now the last item would be number 7, members items. Does anybody have any member items for the committee? Okay, seeing none. Dave, do you just want to go over the date and time for the next meeting?
Absolutely. Thank you. We will have just sorry, unlike what the slide is saying, we will have a meeting from a day today at July the 17th, Wednesday, from 1 p.m. For an hour and a half budgeted. So again, 1 p.m. next Wednesday. Please save the date. Thank you. Back to you.
All right, great. Thank you all. Keep a lookout for the red line document, and remember, Monday's the deadline to get that in, and we'll see everybody next Wednesday. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, Eric Barassa, MAPC. Great job,
Thanks,
thank you,
Eric.
Tom and staff.
And Len,
I found the raise button, but second.
Len, that's never stopped you before, so.
Yes. Yes. Oh, thanks for calling me out on it, Tom. See ya.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
all right,
Right.
thank you. All in favor? Aye, all
Yes.
Hi.
right, have a good week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.